The silence between Hermione and Draco had grown colder since their escape from the Forbidden Forest. Even as they sat huddled in the abandoned classroom they'd claimed as a temporary sanctuary, the air between them crackled not with warmth, but with tension, unspoken truths, half-shared glances, and the weight of everything they weren't saying. Draco stared out the broken window, his eyes fixed on the horizon where smoke still curled above Hogsmeade. The attack from the night before had been swift and brutal. Death Eaters had torched homes and cursed civilians, searching for the traitor in their midst, him. "You don't have to protect me all the time," Hermione said softly, arms wrapped around her knees. "I'm not protecting you," he replied, not turning from the window. "I'm protecting what's left of us." She wanted to believe that. Merlin, she needed to believe it. But something had shifted in him. It wasn't just the scars or the hollowed look in his eyes. It was the darkness lingering behind his calm, a storm waiting for a reason to break. "We can't keep hiding, Draco. We're running out of places. And time," Hermione whispered. "I know," he said. "But I need more time to deal with." "Voldemort," she finished for him. "Or your father?" Draco's jaw clenched. He finally turned to face her. "Both." Hermione rose slowly, walking toward him. "We need to be on the same side, Draco. You and me. No secrets." He took a step back, instinctive. That hurt her more than she expected. "You think I'm keeping things from you? I know you are." Her voice didn't shake. "I saw your arm last night. The mark is fading, but it's still there. You're still tied to him somehow." Draco's gaze darkened. "I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to fall in love with you either." The words stunned them both into silence. Hermione stepped forward again, slower this time. "But you did." He didn't speak. He didn't have to. His silence was an admission in itself. She reached out and touched his hand. It trembled in hers. "Then fight for it. With me. Because we don't have long before the world tears us apart." A knock at the door shattered their fragile moment. Draco moved instantly, shielding Hermione as the door creaked open. But it wasn't a Death Eater. It was Neville. "Thank Merlin," he said, stepping in with two others, Luna and Ginny, both looking bruised but alive. "We've been looking for you." Ginny's eyes narrowed on Draco, but she said nothing. "You have to come with us," Neville said. "The Order is regrouping. There's something you need to see. All of you." The room was buried beneath the Black Lake. A forgotten chamber, charmed to hide from both Dumbledore and the Ministry alike. Only a handful knew of its existence. Now it held the last remnants of Dumbledore's army, and more importantly, a prophecy. Luna's voice echoed in the chamber as she read from a charmed scroll recovered from a destroyed Department of Mysteries outpost. "A love born from war shall bend the Dark Lord's fate. But if stained with betrayal, the end will not be death, but something far worse." Ginny glanced at Hermione. "Do you think this is about you too?" "I don't believe in fate," Hermione replied quickly. "But he does," Luna said, glancing at Draco. "And he's been dreaming again, hasn't he?" Draco shifted uneasily. "The nightmares," Luna continued. "They're not dreams. They're visions. Echoes from the magic that ties you both to him." "You mean Voldemort knows about us?" Hermione asked, heart pounding. "Maybe not everything," Luna said, "but enough. Enough to use it." A silence settled over the room. Neville unfolded a makeshift map. "The next strike is coming. Voldemort's targeting the Ministry. But it's a diversion. He's really after the last hidden Horcrux." Hermione stepped closer. "Where?" Neville looked her dead in the eye. "Godric's Hollow." That night, as the others rested, Hermione and Draco stood alone on the edge of the chamber. Their hands brushed, but neither held the other. "Do you think this prophecy is true?" Hermione asked. Draco's voice was hollow. "I think if we mess this up, it won't just be us who falls." "I don't care about fate," she said. "I care about you. And I need to know you're with me. Not halfway. Not when it's easy. Always." He turned to her slowly, eyes heavy with the weight of too many sins. "Then I need to tell you something." Hermione braced herself. "I saw Voldemort," he whispered. "In the forest. That night we ran. He didn't try to kill me. He let me go." Her breath caught. "Why?" "Because he wants me to kill you," Draco said, voice cracking. "He thinks I'll break when the time comes. That I'll choose him. Or worse, that I won't have a choice at all." Hermione backed away slightly, her expression unreadable. "But I won't," Draco said louder now. "I swear it, Hermione. I'll die before I let him take you." Her voice was barely a whisper. Let's hope he doesn't test that. For the first time in days, she reached for his hand and didn't let go. But far above them, deep in the shadows of the Forbidden Forest, Voldemort stood beneath a dead tree, wand raised toward the sky. He smiled. The game had just begun. Godric's Hollow was quiet. Too quiet. The snow that blanketed the graveyard sparkled under a pale moon, untouched and serene, as if the war hadn't crept this far. But Hermione felt it. A pulse beneath the earth. A magic too old and too dark to ignore. Draco stood beside her, jaw tight, fingers twitching like he was resisting the urge to draw his wand. Neville, Ginny, and Luna waited behind them at the gates, watching for Death Eaters or worse. "It's here," Hermione whispered. "You're sure?" Draco asked, his breath visible in the cold. "I can feel it," she said, staring at the statue of James and Lily Potter. "It's buried with someone." Draco turned toward the gravestones. "So which corpse are we digging up?" Before she could respond, Luna stepped forward, eyes glassy and strange. Not digging. Listening. She knelt beside a crooked grave, placed both palms flat on the frozen earth, and closed her eyes. A quiet hum began to rise from her lips. The others exchanged glances, used to Luna's oddities, but still unsettled. Then her eyes flew open. "There's a chamber beneath the graveyard," she whispered. "Old, protected, and cursed. The last Horcrux is there." Hermione moved quickly, casting revealing charms, sensing the presence of ancient enchantments below. Draco watched her work with an odd mixture of admiration and dread. "You've changed," he said quietly. Hermione glanced at him, not stopping her wand. "So have you." "No, I mean, you're not the girl from the library anymore." She hesitated just long enough for him to see it land. "We're at war, Draco. Books don't fix this." "No, but maybe love could," he muttered before looking away. Before she could answer, the ground beneath them cracked. Luna staggered back, and a spiral of violet mist erupted from the soil, forming a jagged hole where a headstone had once stood. "That wasn't me," Luna murmured. Hermione gripped her wand. "It's open now." "The chamber." Neville nodded grimly. "Let's go." The descent into the chamber was like falling into another world. Cold stone steps, endless winding, until they emerged into a place lost to time. The walls were covered in runes, old and writhing like they were alive. In the center stood an altar of black stone, and resting atop it, encased in crystal, was a small, blood-red dagger. The Horcrux. Hermione's breath caught. "It's not an object he hid. It's a piece of someone." Draco stepped forward slowly. "It's part of himself." "No," Luna corrected, staring at the dagger. "It's worse. It's a part of someone else he sacrificed to make himself stronger." Ginny paled. "Whose?" There was a pause. Hermione moved closer, studying the runes, her heart thundering as she translated them. "It's Regulus Black. He used Regulus." Neville cursed. "Then that dagger contains more than just Voldemort's soul," Hermione said. "It contains a piece of someone who turned against him. Someone he punished." "Can we destroy it?" Draco asked. Hermione nodded, but her voice was hollow. "Only with blood. Powerful blood." The chamber rumbled as if the magic itself had heard her. Then a voice echoed through the stone. "So generous of you to come." They spun around. Standing at the top of the steps was Bellatrix Lestrange, eyes wild, wand raised. Behind her, at least 6 Death Eaters cloaked in black. Bellatrix's grin widened. And so beautifully pathetic. The mudblood and the traitor. What a love story. Draco stepped in front of Hermione before she could react. "Touch her and I'll kill you," he said coldly. "Oh, cousin," Bellatrix sneered. "I was hoping you'd say that." She cast first, wild green light flashing toward them. Draco parried in dove, drawing Hermione behind a pillar. Neville and Ginny returned fire as Luna summoned a protective ward. The chamber erupted into chaos. Hermione's mind raced. The dagger. The Horcrux. If they didn't destroy it now, it was all over. But to activate the ritual, they needed a sacrifice. Not death, just blood. Blood strong enough to match the power used to create it. "I have to do it," she said, grabbing Draco's arm. "You can't," he shouted over the noise. "It could kill you." "Not if I do it right," she replied, eyes locked on his. Trust me. Draco hesitated, then nodded, tearing the sleeve from his arm. No, Hermione said. It has to be me. She stepped out, wand raised, slicing a thin line across her palm. Blood dripped onto the crystal. The dagger pulsed. Bellatrix screamed in fury. No! Spells shot past Hermione, missing by inches. Draco lunged forward, shielding her as the altar began to glow, light exploding outward from the crystal. Hermione dropped to her knees, chanting the spell she'd read from the runes. Her blood soaked the stone. The dagger began to tremble. With a final cry, she drove her wand down onto the hilt. Magic surged through the chamber like a hurricane. The dagger shattered. The Horcrux was gone. The Death Eaters were thrown back by the blast. Bellatrix struck a wall, shrieking as the ceiling above her cracked and collapsed, burying her beneath ancient rubble. Neville, Ginny, and Luna regrouped, battered but alive. Draco knelt beside Hermione, pulling her into his arms. She was bleeding, exhausted, but smiling. We did it, she whispered. He kissed her forehead, holding her tightly. You almost didn't. But I did. Their moment was fragile, but real. Until Ginny's voice cut through it. We need to move. Now. Why? Draco asked. Luna's voice was eerily calm. Because the dagger wasn't the last Horcrux. Hermione's smile faded. There's one more, Luna said. And I know where it is. They all turned to her. Luna looked at Draco. It's you. Draco stared at Luna, frozen, as though her words had struck him physically. Hermione rose unsteadily to her feet, blood still dripping from her palm. What did you say? Luna didn't blink. Draco is the final Horcrux. No, Draco whispered. That's not possible. I would have known. I would have felt something. But Hermione had already begun tracing the memory back. The cave. The rituals. His visions. The strange connection to Voldemort's thoughts. The whispers that came at night. The storm inside him. Think, Draco, she said gently. The nightmares. The anger. The magic inside you, unpredictable, unstable. You felt it, haven't you? He backed away, shaking his head. I'm not some vessel. You're not, Luna said. You're more than that. But he used you. When you were a boy, after your father failed him. He marked you not just with a task, but with a piece of himself. He needed you close to Dumbledore. He needed control. Draco staggered, grabbing the wall for balance. Neville broke the silence. So how do we get it out? Luna looked to Hermione. She knows. Hermione felt cold. There's only one way. The Horcrux must be destroyed, and the host must be willing to let it go. It's a soul binding, he has to face it. To reject it completely. Draco met her eyes. And if I can't, then it consumes you, she said quietly. Voldemort wins. No one spoke. The room still shimmered with residual magic. The remains of the shattered dagger smoldered on the altar, and above, the ceiling creaked with instability. I'll do it, Draco finally said. Hermione reached for him. Draco, I'm not dying like this, he snapped. If there's even a chance of getting that thing out of me, I want it gone. I'm not his puppet anymore. He stepped toward the altar and rolled up his sleeves. I need your help, he said to Hermione. Just be with me. Anchor me. Hermione stood beside him, her wand trembling in her fingers. You need to confront it. Go deep. It'll try to seduce you, lie to you. You have to know what's real. He gave her a wry smile. You're real. Then he closed his eyes, and she pressed her wand gently to his chest. Legilimens. Draco was standing in a black void, surrounded by fog. A figure emerged before him. Tall, pale, with crimson eyes and a voice like silk dipped in venom. You were always mine, Draco, Voldemort whispered. I gave you purpose. I gave you strength. Draco squared his shoulders. You used me. You needed it. Without me, you're weak. Useless. Forgotten. Draco shook his head. That's not true. You crave power. You fear being nothing. You wanted this, even if you never said it aloud. You wanted to matter. I matter now, Draco growled. Not because of you. Because of her? Voldemort sneered. The mudblood? She'll discard you the moment it's over. Draco's hands balled into fists. Say her name again. Granger, the voice hissed, stretching her name with poison. You're not in love. You're just guilty. You're broken, and you think she's the cure. But she can't save you. No one can. Draco closed his eyes. But another voice echoed through the darkness, soft, strong. You're more than what he made you. Hermione. Her voice cut through the fog like fire through ice. Get out, Draco whispered. Voldemort tilted his head. What? I said get out. A wave of golden light burst from Draco's chest, and the figure of Voldemort shrieked, fracturing like glass. The void imploded. Draco gasped and fell to his knees, clutching his chest. Hermione caught him, her eyes wide with fear. A black mist seeped from his skin, writhing, screaming, and then dissolved into nothingness. It was over. The final Horcrux was gone. Draco lay in her arms, exhausted, tears mixing with sweat. Is it really done? Hermione nodded, brushing his hair back. You did it. Neville approached, wand still drawn. We need to go. Now. That magic was loud. They'll come. Ginny helped Luna to her feet. Back to Grimmauld Place. Regroup. Plan our next move. Draco stood slowly, his knees trembling. He'll know. He'll feel it. Hermione's voice was quiet, but steady. Then we've shaken him. The final battle is close. They climbed from the chamber, each step heavier with the weight of what they'd done. Above ground, the stars had begun to fade. But behind them, unseen in the shadows, a lone Death Eater watched. His silver mask gleamed in the dark, and in his hand, a charmed coin pulsed with red light. He vanished with a crack. And far away in the ruins of Malfoy Manor, Voldemort opened his eyes. His scream split the night. The scream that tore through the air wasn't just rage, it was loss. It rippled through the forbidden forest like a crack in time, unsettling every living creature it touched. The trees shivered. Birds fled into the fading dawn. Even the centaurs paused in their roaming, casting wary glances toward the east. At Grimmauld Place, the atmosphere was heavy. Hermione sat on the floor of the drawing room, her back pressed to the cold wall, knees drawn tightly to her chest. She was still shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of what she'd nearly lost. Draco had slept for 13 hours. When he finally emerged, his eyes were sunken but calm, his magic noticeably more stable. Still, he looked older, more burdened. She stood quickly when she saw him. Hey, he said softly. She reached out, hesitant at first, then wrapped her arms around him. You did it, she murmured. You actually did it. I saw him, Draco whispered against her hair. The real him, not the one in dreams. He was inside me for so long, I didn't even realize what part of me was him. Hermione stepped back to look into his eyes. You're free now. But the moment shattered when the front door flew open with a loud bang. Ginny stormed in, her face pale. He knows. Luna followed close behind, her robes singed. Diagon Alley. It's gone. Neville entered last, bruised and limping. Death Eaters raided it an hour ago. Nocturne Alley, too. No warning. No survivors. Hermione's heart dropped. What? They're not playing anymore, Neville said grimly. They didn't leave messages. No dark mark in the sky. Just bodies. Why now? Draco asked, his voice sharp. Ginny looked at him. Because he felt it. The piece of him you carried. It was the last Horcrux. Hermione felt sick. Then he knows he's vulnerable. He's not hiding anymore, Luna said. He's hunting. Draco paced, fists clenched. He'll come here. Grimmauld Place isn't safe. It's still under the Fidelius charm, Ginny countered. But we need to prepare. We don't have time for politics or waiting on the order. Neville dropped a bag of salvaged books onto the table. We found something in the rubble. An old prophecy tucked inside a warded chest. It's coded in runes, but it mentions a binding of opposites and a final spell cast in grief. It might be the key. Luna was already translating. It speaks of a convergence. Two souls born to rival houses, joined through fire, bound by love and betrayal. Hermione's stomach twisted. Draco's voice was hollow. That's us. Luna continued slowly. Only through the death of innocence will the shadow fall. Everyone fell silent. What does that mean? Ginny asked. Hermione spoke, her voice quiet and tight. It means we don't both make it out. No, Draco said immediately. We're not playing into another prophecy. I'm done being someone else's pawn. Luna met his gaze. Prophecies don't dictate action, Draco. But they show potential paths. One of them leads to ending this war. Neville looked at the window. So what do we do now? We need to draw him out, Hermione said. Not wait for him to find us. And we need help, real help. Not just the handful of us. There's one place left, Draco said suddenly. A stronghold that hasn't fallen. Nurmengard. Ginny frowned. Grindelwald's old fortress? It was taken over by rogue Aurors after Dumbledore died, Draco said. Neutral ground. Wardlocked. They don't take sides. But if we go with proof of what we've done, what we've destroyed, they might listen. We'll split, Hermione said. Draco and I will go to Nurmengard. The rest of you find others, those still loyal to the cause. We'll need everyone. Ginny didn't like it, but nodded. Be careful. As they prepared to leave, Luna stopped Hermione at the door. Whatever happens, she said, stay together. He's stronger with you. And you're not done breaking. Hermione didn't reply. She and Draco apparat beyond the protective radius of Grimmauld Place and began the long journey north. Each step felt heavier. The air thinned. Cold crept into their bones. It wasn't just the weather. It was what lay ahead. Nurmengard rose on the horizon like a jagged crown. Towering spires loomed beneath stormy skies. Thunder cracked above. Hermione glanced at Draco. You ready? He nodded, jaw tight. Let's finish what we started. From the shadows of the forest, unseen by either of them, a dark form watched with gleaming eyes. Voldemort was already waiting. The path to Nurmengard was treacherous, the landscape barren and jagged, as if the earth itself recoiled from the fortress looming ahead. Hermione and Draco traveled mostly by apparition, but each time they rematerialized closer to the stronghold, a cold dread grew heavier on their chests, as if the very air around Nurmengard whispered warnings of death. They arrived just as dusk painted the sky in bruised purples and fiery reds, the fortress silhouetted against the dying light like a sleeping beast. Its towering stone walls bore scars from centuries of battles, but the enchantments still hummed strong, warding off unwanted magic and intruders alike. Hermione gripped Draco's hand tightly as they approached the massive iron gates, embossed with twisting runes that pulsed faintly. The doors groaned open slowly, revealing a cavernous courtyard swathed in shadow. Figures cloaked in gray robes emerged silently from the darkness, their faces obscured beneath hoods. A tall woman stepped forward, her eyes sharp beneath her hood. You come with the mark of blood and war, she said, voice like cracked ice. State your purpose. Draco swallowed. We come bearing news of the last Horcrux destroyed, and a threat that will consume the wizarding world if not stopped. The woman studied them, then nodded slowly. We are the keepers of Nurmengard, neutral in the great wars but sworn to preserve balance. If your words are true, your burden is greater than most. Hermione stepped forward, eyes steady. We need allies. Voldemort is vulnerable now, but only if we act quickly. If we do not unite, everything we love will be lost. The woman gestured to the courtyard. Come, we will test your truth. Inside, the fortress was colder than the night outside. Ancient tapestries lined the walls, depicting battles long past. Heroes and villains locked in eternal conflict. They led Hermione and Draco to a chamber, circular and dimly lit by floating blue flames. In the center lay a large mirror, its surface rippling like dark water. This is the mirror of Veritas, the woman explained. It reveals the true nature of one's soul. You will stand before it and show us the scars you bear. Draco hesitated, then stepped forward. The mirror shimmered, and his reflection twisted, showing flashes of his past. The terror of his father's cruelty, the moment Voldemort marked him, his struggles with dark magic, and finally, the explosion of light when the Horcrux was destroyed. Hermione followed. The mirror revealed her endless nights of study, the burden of keeping secrets, the anguish of watching friends fall into darkness, and her unwavering resolve to fight, no matter the cost. The woman nodded, impressed. Your souls carry weight that few can bear. We will stand with you. Relief flooded them briefly, but it was short-lived. Suddenly, the air shifted. A cold presence slithered into the room. The blue flames flickered wildly, casting monstrous shadows on the walls. A figure stepped from the darkness. Voldemort. His face was pale and twisted, eyes burning with fury and something darker, a cruel amusement. So, he hissed, you think to rally forces against me? To defy fate itself. Draco raised his wand, but Hermione placed a hand on his arm. Not yet. Voldemort smiled coldly. You will find, dear Malfoy, that the darkness is never so easily banished. He raised his wand, and the room exploded into chaos. Shards of magical energy flying in every direction, screams echoing off stone walls. Hermione grabbed Draco, pulling him behind a shattered pillar. We fight together, she whispered. No turning back. As spells collided and walls crumbled, the battle for the future of the wizarding world had truly begun. The air inside Nurmengard shattered with spells and screams, a violent tempest ripping through the ancient halls. Hermione's heart pounded as she ducked behind the remnants of a stone column, the heat of a blasting curse scorching the air mere inches from her face. Draco's grip was firm on her wrist, steadying her trembling body. Voldemort's presence was overwhelming, the darkness radiating from him like a living shadow. His cold eyes scanned the room, calculating and merciless. You thought the keepers would protect you? They are pawns, fragile and broken, he sneered, sending a wave of necromantic energy that turned the air icy. The woman who had welcomed them, the keeper, stepped forward, wand raised, but Voldemort's curse shattered her defenses with a cruel smile. She crumpled to the ground, her face etched with disbelief. No! Hermione screamed, pushing herself up to conjure a protective shield around Draco. We have to fall back. Draco nodded, his jaw clenched. We can't let him win here. They ducked through a hidden passageway that twisted downward, the fortress groaning around them as Voldemort's forces tore through its defenses. The shadows seemed to claw at their backs, whispering promises of despair. In the dim corridor, Hermione gasped, We need reinforcements. Draco's eyes were dark. There's one person left. Someone Voldemort fears even more than us. Hermione frowned. Who? Snape, Draco said quietly. He's been watching, waiting. He owes me a debt. The mention of Severus Snape pulled a sharp breath from Hermione's chest. A man wrapped in secrets and shadows, whose loyalty had always been a mystery. They pressed on, navigating narrow stairwells and crumbling corridors, until a heavy wooden door creaked open ahead. Inside, a tall figure stood with a silver-bladed wand drawn, eyes sharp beneath dark brows. Malfoy, Snape said, voice low but steady. I see you're not dead yet. Draco's expression softened just for a moment. We need your help. Voldemort has broken into Nurmengard. Snape's face hardened. Then this war is far from over. They formed an uneasy alliance in the fortress's hidden war room, poring over maps and ancient texts. Snape revealed a plan, a dangerous gambit that could trap Voldemort if they could lure him into a place where his powers were limited. But it will cost us dearly, Snape warned. We may lose more than we expect. Hermione's eyes burned with determination. We don't have a choice. As night deepened, the fragile alliance held, but tensions simmered beneath the surface. Every glance was weighted with distrust, every whispered word a potential betrayal. Outside, Voldemort's laughter echoed through the ruins, a chilling reminder that the darkness was far from defeated. The war room was cold, lit only by flickering candles and the eerie glow of enchanted maps that shifted and changed with each new report. Hermione, Draco, and Snape sat hunched over the ancient parchment, plotting the trap that might end Voldemort's reign, or destroy them all. Snape's voice cut through the silence. We lure him to the Shattered Vale. It's a place steeped in old magic. His powers won't function fully there. Draco narrowed his eyes. And how do we get him to come? Hermione's mind raced. We send a false signal. Something he can't resist. Snape nodded. The destruction of the last Horcrux. He believes it was carried by Malfoy. If we fake an attack here at Nurmengard, he'll come hunting. The plan was risky. They had little time to prepare, and the chances of survival were slim. But standing still was no longer an option. As they made arrangements, Hermione caught Draco staring out a narrow window. The storm clouds gathered overhead, reflecting the turmoil within him. What's on your mind? She asked softly. Draco shook his head. It's all coming to a head. I don't know if we'll make it out. Hermione reached out, taking his hand. We fight because we have to. Because if we don't, everything we care about dies. The night was restless. The winds howled outside Nurmengard's walls, and somewhere in the distance, the first rumble of thunder echoed. Unseen, Voldemort's agents moved like shadows, preparing for the coming battle. The final confrontation was near, and nothing would ever be the same. The air was thick with tension as Hermione, Draco, and Snape made their final preparations in the heart of Nurmengard. The ancient fortress felt like a tomb, cold and unyielding, each stone soaked with centuries of secrets and bloodshed. The plan to lure Voldemort to the Shattered Veil was set in motion, but doubt gnawed relentlessly at their resolve. Snape moved silently through the shadows, eyes sharp as he checked the wards and protections they had summoned. "We must trust each other," he said quietly, voice barely more than a whisper. "Any hesitation, and this will be our end." Draco paced, his golden hair tousled and his face etched with fatigue. "Trust is hard to come by in times like these," he muttered. "Especially when the enemy is one of our own." Hermione's gaze hardened. "We don't have time for old grudges. If we falter, it won't just be us who pay the price." That night, as the storm outside crashed against the fortress walls, a faint noise disturbed the uneasy calm. A soft, almost imperceptible shift of footsteps in the corridors. Hermione's eyes snapped open. She rose silently, signaling Draco and Snape to follow. They crept through the dark halls, senses alert, until they found the source, a figure cloaked in black, slipping a dagger into Snape's side before vanishing like a ghost. Snape gasped, gripping the wound, his face pale. Betrayal. The weight of the attack settled heavily on them. The enemy had spies inside Nurmengard. Someone they had trusted was working against them. Draco's jaw clenched. "We have to move faster. The trap won't hold if Voldemort arrives before we're ready." Hermione helped Snape to a hidden chamber, where she applied healing charms. "We can't afford to lose anyone now," she whispered, voice trembling. Outside, the storm raged fiercer, lightning illuminating the towering walls of Nurmengard like jagged scars. The final battle was no longer a matter of if, but when. And with betrayal now among them, victory seemed more elusive than ever. Snape's breath came in shallow gasps as Hermione worked tirelessly to stem the bleeding from the hidden wound. The betrayal cut deeper than any dagger. Trust had cracked, threatening to shatter their fragile coalition. Draco stood rigid by the door, eyes flickering with anger and suspicion. "We can't stay here," he said coldly. "If there's a traitor among us, they'll strike again." Hermione met his gaze. "We don't have a choice. We need to find out who it is before it's too late." Snape's voice was weak but resolute. "The traitor is clever, but not flawless. There are signs, messages in the wards, subtle tampering. I'll trace them." Draco paced the room, frustration mounting. "And if we fail?" "We won't," Hermione insisted. "We have to believe in each other, even now." They split their focus, Snape tracking the invisible threads of betrayal, Hermione and Draco reinforcing defenses and preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Hours later, Snape returned, his face grim. "The traitor is close. Closer than we thought." Hermione swallowed hard. "Who?" Snape hesitated, then whispered a name that sent a chill through the room. "Bellatrix." Draco's fists clenched. "The darkness festers even here." The revelation fractured their resolve, but also steeled it. The war was no longer just against Voldemort. It was a battle to root out the shadows within. Outside, thunder rolled, heralding the storm that would decide the fate of all. The weight of Bellatrix's name hung heavy in the cramped chamber, a poisonous fog of fear and betrayal that threatened to suffocate them all. Hermione's fingers tightened around the wand hidden beneath her cloak, the memory of the fierce loyalty twisted into madness haunting her thoughts. Bellatrix was no ordinary traitor. She was Voldemort's fiercest disciple, a storm of chaos wrapped in beauty and cruelty. "We can't let her sabotage the plan," Hermione said quietly, eyes blazing with determination. "If she alerts Voldemort, the trap is lost." Draco's jaw tightened, a storm swirling in his golden eyes. "Then she dies here." Snape's expression darkened. "Bellatrix has allies. She won't fall easily." They moved through Nurmengard's shadowed halls with cautious urgency, every step echoing like a drumbeat of impending war. Whispers of ancient curses seemed to swirl around them, the fortress itself groaning beneath the weight of the coming storm. In the dim light of a ruined chamber, Bellatrix awaited them, her smile cruel and wild. "So predictable," she sneered. "You think you can stop what is already set in motion?" Draco's voice was cold steel. "This ends tonight." The clash was violent, raw, and unrelenting, spells tearing through the air, shouts and screams mingling with the roar of thunder outside. Hermione fought with every ounce of strength and skill she had, but Bellatrix was a tempest, feeding on chaos and hatred. In the midst of the chaos, Draco's eyes met Hermione's, a silent promise of survival and vengeance. When the dust settled, Bellatrix lay defeated but not broken, a mocking laugh escaping her lips. "You may have won this battle, but the war is far from over." The darkness pressed in closer, the final reckoning drawing near.